Hello friends, very good morning to all. We are discussing about rolling contact bearing. So we have already discussed what is bearing, what are the different functions of bearing, then what is the rolling and sliding contact bearing, how the load is transferred. Then we have discussed about these basic types of rolling contact bearing and all different types we have discussed along with their advantages, disadvantages or significance. So we have taken a brief review, or we can say the discussion about each type, the bearing, the characteristics, and the benefit or advantages, disadvantages, or limitations of the bearing. Now, after having a discussion on this, selection of bearing type, when we will go for which type of bearing, this we will discuss now. The selection of bearing type according to the application. The selection bearing depends upon mainly the application and the characteristic. What is the application and which type of bearing is suitable. So these are the some guidelines given for selecting the bearing. So let us discuss one by one these guidelines. For low and medium radial loads, ball bearings are used, whereas for heavy loads and large shaft diameters, roller bearings are used. We have already discussed the uh, about ball and roller bearings. So for low and medium radial load carrying capacities where required, ball bearings are preferred, and where heavy loads are there, roller bearings are preferred. When self-aligning ball bearings and spherical roller bearings are used in the application where misalignment between the axis of the shaft and housing is likely to exist. If there are chances of misalignment between the axes due to the application wherever it is desired, so that there are chances that there will be misalignment between the axis of shaft and housing. In such case, self-aligning bearings are preferred because they can tolerate somewhat misalignment and keep their position in self-aligning mode. Therefore, in the alignment, therefore the name is self-aligning bearing. Then thrust ball bearings are used for medium thrust loads, whereas for heavy thrust loads, cylindrical roller thrust bearings are recommended. So thrust bearing where there is axial load. So for medium load, ball bearings are preferred, thrust ball bearing. And for heavy load duty applications, cylindrical roller thrust bearings are preferred. Then deep groove ball bearings. Angular contact bearings and spherical roller bearings are suitable for application where load acting on the bearing consists of two components. So here you can see where there are two components acting on the bearing, radial and thrust load. In such cases, deep groove ball bearing can take radial and thrust load. Angular contact bearing can take more radial and thrust load. So these are the bearings where we can use, though depending upon this application. So wherever there is a radial and thrust load, these bearings are preferred. The maximum permissible speed of the shaft depends upon the temperature rise of the bearing. So if a bearing, can we use the bearing for 1000 RPM? Okay, generalized condition. Can we use the bearing for 10,000 RPM? Question mark. Because 10,000 RPM, as RPM increases, then there will be friction increases and heat will be generated. So here temperature rise will be there. So for such applications, deep groove ball bearings and angular contact bearings, cylindrical roller bearings are recommended for high speed applications. So this is very important consideration. Wherever there is a higher speed application, temperature rise will be there. For such high speed applications, deep groove ball bearing, angular contact bearing, and cylindrical roller bearings are recommended. Rigidity controls the selection of bearing in certain applications like machine tool spindles. Double row cylindrical roller bearings or taper roller bearings are used under these conditions. The line contact in these bearings are as compared with the point contact in ball bearing improves the rigidity of the system. We have already discussed that ball bearing there is a point contact and cylindrical roller bearing there is a line contact. So these roller bearings are more rigid as compared to the ball bearings. Therefore, wherever rigidity is important, like machine tool applications, spindles, in such cases, cylindrical roller bearings or taper roller bearings are preferred over the ball bearing. Whenever there is a consideration, noise becomes a criteria for selection. Like household applications, deep groove ball bearings are considered. They generate very less noise. So household application, we can take example of ceiling fan or table fan, or you can also take example of mixer, etc. So these are many household applications you can find in which bearings are there. So if you there is noise criteria. The bearings which used in industrial application, if it will generate noise, no problem, because noise is not the criteria for industrial application. But if you prefer at household applications, it should not generate more noise. Therefore, deep groove ball bearing is having very less noise. This is the advantage of deep groove ball bearing. Therefore, in household applications, deep groove ball bearings are preferred. So these are the some of the criterion which are used for selection of bearing type. Which type of, these are the guidelines we can say for selecting this bearing type. Friends, let us move further. Static load carrying capacity. In the bearing, now we will be discussing static load carrying capacity, dynamic load carrying capacity, load life relationship, rating life. These are the different terms that we will discuss now. So static load is defined as the load acting on the bearing when the shaft is stationary. The load acting on the bearing when the shaft is stationary. It produces permanent deformation in the balls and races, which increases with increasing the load. So imagine the bearing is not rotating. It is stationary position. The gear is mounted on the shaft. The weight of the gear and the weight of the shaft, when the bearing is not moving, steady condition, stationary condition, the load is acting directly on the bearing. And due to this load in static condition, it produces the permanent deformation in the balls and races. So we have discussed inner race, outer race. So it produces the permanent deformation in the balls and races as the load increases. The definition now we will discuss. The static load carrying capacity of the bearing is defined as the static load which corresponds to a total permanent deformation of balls and races at the most heavily stressed point of contact equal to 0.0001 of the ball diameter. I will give an example. Don't refer other things that I will come once again. Just now concentrate on the definition. So if you see here, these are the, I assume this as inner race and these are the balls. Some balls are shown here and downside. So if the load is acting in the direction, then I will highlight this is the most heavily stressed ball. So if you highlight this point, because for others the load is acting in some angle. So directly load is acting on this particular case. So maximum deflection will be here as the load is acting in this particular direction. As the load is acting like this, the most heavily stressed ball is this one. So let us see once again the definition. For that particular condition, the load up to which 0.0001, assume that for example, let us say heavy duty bearing or medium capacity, 50 mm diameter of the ball. So 50 into 0.0001, what will you will get the answer? Up to that deformation, whatever the load it can sustain or whatever the load it will produce, that deformation, it is a static load carrying capacity of the bearing. Permanent deformation of the balls and races at most heavily stressed the point. I have given you idea about most heavily stressed the point and is equal to 0.0001 of the ball diameter. Okay, so now this is the static load carrying capacity. Let us have a look toward the formula for static load carrying capacity of the bearing. So we have discussed now definition. Now static load carrying capacity. There are certain assumptions in this particular analysis. So the races are rigid and retain their circular shape. So we have discussed this is inner race, then this is ball, and at the outside again, like this, it will cover. There is outer race also. So inner race and outer race. The races are rigid. Very important consideration. Na? The races are rigid. And retain their circular shape. The races will not become oval shape. The races are rigid and they will retain the circular shape. The balls are equally spaced and the balls in the upper half do not support any load. If you consider any type of bearing, then there will be, I can say the balls. Let us see. For your better understanding purpose, we will say this diagram. So if a load is acting in static condition, in this case, static, no dynamic, static condition. So the load it act and whatever these bottom side balls are there, they will only support. The load in upper half, they will not support. They will not carry the load as the load is directly coming on this below center line. Therefore, whatever balls are there like this. So whatever the balls are there, they will take the load and the load in the upper half portion, they are not taking any load. This is the assumption and the balls are equally spaced. So these are the sum of the assumptions. Okay. So the balls in the upper half do not support any load. If you see the forces acting on the inner race, the force is 7. CO is the static load carrying capacity. The load is acting in this direction. And this P1, P2, P3, these are the load supported by these balls. So P1, this is load. Then P2, then P3, these are the loads. And beta is the angle between these balls. And okay, then deflection of inner race. The inner races get deflected. So if you see the delta 1 is the maximum deflection at this point, then delta 2 is the deflection at second ball. So like that deflections will be there. And after solving this particular equation, you will finally arrive at CO is equal to, this is the static load carrying capacity of this particular ball bearing. So you will arrive at CO is equal to K d square Z divided by 5. CO is equal to K d square Z divided by 5, where CO stands for the static load carrying capacity of the bearing. D is the ball diameter, Z is the number of balls, and K is the factor that depends upon radii of curvature and modulus of elasticity of the material. So this is the static load carrying capacity of the bearing. It depends upon, you can say, the ball diameter, number of balls, and K is the factor depends upon radius of curvature and modulus of elasticity. So this is about the static load carrying capacity. Let us move further, friends, about bearing life. The life of bearing is limited by fatigue failure at the surfaces of balls and races. The dynamic load carrying capacity of the bearing is therefore based on the fatigue life. See, the bearing is rotating at continuous cyclic loads. So if you can see, it is, for example, continuously revolving at 1000 RPM. So cyclic loads will be there and fatigue failure will be there. So the life of bearing is governed by the fatigue failure of balls and races. Therefore, the life is defined as, the life of an individual ball bearing is defined as the number of revolutions. The life is defined as, life of ball bearing is defined as the number of revolutions or number of hours of service at constant speed. So there are two considerations mentioned. For example, you take our bike as an example. So in this example, the bit is not rotating continuously at same RPM. So if the speed is low, you are operating at first gear, just started, the RPM may be 50, again the RPM increases, and if you are at peak level, driving with higher speed, the RPM may be of your bike, or you can say that wheel RPM, it may be 1000, okay, it may be 2000, okay. But again, if some obstacle, some speed breaker is there or like that, again you are applying the brake or reducing the speed, again it is coming 700, 500, 200, 150 like this. So it is not moving at constant speed. Therefore, the first is in number of revolutions. Very important. The life is expressed for the bearing in number of revolutions, or in hours also it can express, but at some constant speed. For example, you take any electric motor is there, any specific application is there. At that case, the speed is constant for lifetime of bearing 1440 RPM. The speed is not going to change at all. For such applications, the life can be expressed in hours, or otherwise the life is expressed in number of revolutions. Very important. Okay, the life of bearing, ball bearing is defined as the number of revolutions or hours of service at some constant speed which the bearing runs before first evidence of fatigue crack in balls or races, which the bearing runs successfully, which the bearing completes before the first evidence of fatigue crack. So until and unless there is fatigue crack observed in balls and races, whatever number of revolutions it will complete, or whatever hours it will give service as constant speed, it is called as the life of the individual ball bearing. It is called as life of individual ball bearing. Very simple. Before first evidence of fatigue crack, whatever number of revolutions it will complete or number of hours it will give service at constant speed, it is called as the bearing life. There are two different criterion to define, to rate this bearing life. So we have discussed the life as the number of revolution or hours of operation at constant speed required for failure criterion to develop. Failure criterion means before the first evidence of fatigue crack. Bearings are rated on two criteria. Two examples. We will take one example and we will proceed. The average life of group of bearing. This is first criteria. And the life in which 90% of bearing will reach or exceed. Second criteria. So I will take just we will take example. First example, we will take the average life of a group that of the bearing. Assume that there are 100 bearings in a group, and first bearing will go for, I will say, 900 million revolutions. Second bearing will go for 910 million revolutions. Third bearing will run up to 850 million revolutions. Dash. 50th bearing will run for 780 million revolutions. 60th bearing will run for 950 million revolutions. Dash. 99th bearing will run for 915 million revolutions, and 100th bearing will run for, or it will complete. Assume that, for example, 920 million revolutions. So this is just example I am giving. So what is the first criteria? The average life of group of bearings. So here the first criteria is the average life of group of bearings. So the average addition is made, divided by numbers, divided by, you can say this 100, whatever your criteria is there. So you will get the average life. Let us assume that the average life, you will get the answer. I will assume that 905 million revolutions. For example, I am giving. So it is the average life of group of bearing. We have taken one group and 100 bearings are there total in that particular group. And the life is stated, and after that the average life is calculated. But this criteria is very least referred, very less referred in this bearing category or bearing generalized industrial applications. Second criteria we will discuss, the life which 90% of the bearing will reach or exceed 90% of the bearings. So here we can say that 100 bearings are there, for example, in a group. Okay. So 90% of this 100 means 900 bearings will be there. And these 900 bearings will reach a particular life. Let us say, assume the life as, for example, 900. Okay, no confusion, 900, 900. I will take some different number. Okay, it will complete 870 million revolutions. 870 million revolutions. So, in this criteria, 90% of the bearing, whatever is the group, for example, 1 lakh bearings are there, 90,000 bearings. Now we have assumed 100 bearings are there. So 90%, 100, or I can say here 1000 bearings are there. So 90%, 900 bearings will complete 870 million revolutions. So they will, without fail, this 90% will achieve this. And this is the list. After that also the bearing will continue, and any one bearing can go for 1000, 1500 million revolutions also. So the friends, these are the two criteria. Let us discuss. The 90% criteria is widely used. In industrial application, there is a manufacturer's catalog that based on this 90% criteria. So it is widely preferred in industry also. And let us discuss the definition about this particular 90%. It is called as the rated life. It is denoted by L10 life. There are two more notations that also I will give you. So let us just discuss very first the definition of this particular 90% category. The rated life, rating life defines the number of revolution or hours of operation at constant speed. See, the word is standard now. Number of revolutions or hours of operation at constant speed in such a way that 90% of the bearing tested from the same group will complete or exceed before the first evidence of failure develops. So this is the definition. It defines the number of revolutions, whatever number of revolution or hours at constant speed, 90% of the bearing which selected, which we have created a group, whatever the group is there, from that group, 90% bearing will complete or exceed before the first crack observed. That whatever number of revolutions, it is called as the rated life. It is denoted here L10. There are other names also. It is shown by L90 also. It is shown by B10 also. It is also called as the rated life. So rating life, rated life, L90, L10, B10. These are the different words used. So this is about the rating life. Let us discuss about the dynamic load carrying capacity. We have discussed about the static load carrying capacity of the bearing. Now dynamic load carrying capacity of the bearing. The dynamic load carrying capacity of a bearing is defined as the radial load in radial bearing or thrust load in thrust bearing that can be carried for a minimum life of 1 million revolutions. So here you will observe the one word million revolutions. So the bearing life is expressed in million revolutions. The formula is also there. It will also in million revolutions only. So the dynamic load carrying capacity is defined as, if a bearing is radial bearing, then radial load. If a bearing is thrust bearing, then thrust load. So the radial load in case of radial bearing or thrust load in case of thrust bearing, that can be carried out for minimum life of 1 million revolution. It should complete minimum 1 million revolution. So whatever load it can carry and it will complete 1 million revolution, that load is called as the dynamic load carrying capacity for the bearing. Equivalent bearing load. So, how to calculate the equivalent bearing load or equivalent dynamic load? So this is there is one formula, and based on this, which we will we can solve the numericals and we can calculate the equivalent bearing load by taking in account the radial as well as axial loads acting on a bearing. The equivalent dynamic load is defined as the constant thrust bearings, which if applied to the bearing would give same life as that which the bearing will attain under actual condition of forces. So this is the theoretical definition. Now, what is the formula for this? So formula is P is equal to XVFR plus YFA. So the formula is XVFR plus YFA. So you can see here P is the equivalent bearing load or equivalent dynamic load, and the formula is given as XVFR plus YFA. P is equivalent dynamic load. FR and FA stands for the radial load and axial or thrust load. FR and FA stands for the radial or axial and thrust load. You are already familiar with radial and axial load. So FR is the radial load, FA is the axial load. So V is the race rotation factor, and X and Y are the radial and axial factors respectively. So here it is the X and Y, radial and axial factors. Okay, so P is equivalent dynamic load, FR radial load, FA axial load, and V is the race rotation factor. Now, if we see the formula, V is the race rotation factor, this V is having two values, V is equal to 1 and V is equal to 1.2. V is equal to 1 when the condition is the inner race is rotating and outer race is stationary. So generally in all the applications, it is the criteria that inner race is rotating and outer race is stationary. V is equal to 1.2 when the inner race is stationary and outer race is rotating. So very rare application. So V is 1 is the generalized application. We can say here inner race is rotating. I am writing in short. Outer race stationary. So assuming V as unity, the equation I will write, it becomes P is equal to XFR plus YFA. So here XFR plus YFA. So this is the equation we will use and we will proceed for calculating the equivalent bearing or dynamic load. So here P is the equivalent dynamic load in Newton, X and Y are the radial and axial factors, and FR and FA is the radial and axial load acting on the bearing. Okay. Now, assume that the bearing is subjected to pure radial load or pure axial load. Assume that the bearing is subjected to pure radial or pure axial load. then in such case, what will happen? So here you can refer. So here you can see when it is subjected to pure radial loading condition. So only FR, pure radial means no axial load at all. And your X factor will become to 1. Therefore, in such case, you can say the P will directly equal to FR. So I will highlight here when the bearing is subjected to pure radial load, I can say P is equal to FR. No FA, no this factor, and we can write P is equal to FR. And when the bearing is subjected to pure thrust load, then P is equal to FA. No radial load at all, the Y factor becomes 1 and P is equal to FA. So why this is important? In some of the numericals, if it is given that the bearing is subjected to radial load of, assume that 8,000 Newton and no other things are given. So if in such condition, if FA is not given and XY factor is not required, so if FA not given, only radial load is given, then you can write in this in that particular, or we can assume in that particular equation that as the bearing is subjected to only radial load, P is equal to FR. This is your value of P. So in that case, you will not require to go for P is equal to XFR plus YFA, because the bearing is subjected to only one load, only radial or only axial. So your P will be equal to FR when it is subjected to pure radial load, or your P will be equal to FA when it is subjected to pure thrust load. So this is about equivalent bearing load. Let us proceed further. The relationship between the dynamic means we can say load life relationship. So the bit title is load life relationship. The relationship between the dynamic load carrying capacity C, capital C, the equivalent dynamic load P, and the bearing life L10 in million revolutions. The equation or the relationship can be given by L10 is equal to rated bearing life. L10 is equal to rated bearing life. So here you can see this rate in million revolutions. Very important consideration here, that the bearing life is in million revolutions. L10, the L10, the rated bearing life in million revolutions. C, the dynamic load carrying capacity. So here you can see L10, the bearing life in million revolutions. C is the dynamic load carrying capacity. P is the equivalent bearing load in Newton. And there is a small p. So what is the small p indicates? It is equal to 3. This is a factor which is equal to 3 for ball bearings and which is equal to 10 divided by 3 for roller bearings. So 3 and 10 by 3. So let us rearrange the equation. If I will write the equation for C, then it will become C is equal to P into L10 and raised to 1 divided by P. P into L10 raised to 1 divided by C. So here it is written, rearranging, C is equal to P into L10 raised to 1 by P. So if I will put the value for ball bearing, the small p value as 3, then the equation will become C is equal to P into L10 raised to 1 by 3. So this is the equation which we will directly use for all types of ball bearing. And C is equal to P into L10 raised to 1 by P. So 1 by P, 1 divided by 10 divided by 3. It will become 3 by 10. It is nothing but 0.3. So for all types of roller bearing, we will use the equation as C is equal to P into L10 raised to 0.3. P is equal to P into L10 raised to 0.3. So these are the two equations which we will use in load life relationship. Now, very important in this case, the relationship between life in million revolution and life in hours. So very important. Here we have this seen. Here there is a term L10. Here also there is a term L10. So, but the L10 is in million revolutions. The L10 is in million revolutions. If in we are having the data in hours, if it is rotating at constant RPM and we are having the data in hours, then the relationship between million revolution and hours is given by. So we are having the relationship L10 is equal to 60 N L10 H. 60 N L10 H divided by 10 raised to 6, where L10 is the life in million revolution, L10 H, this is the life in hours, and N is the speed of rotation. So if we are having the speed of rotation and the life in hours, then by using the formula, we will convert the life into million revolutions and we will substitute this or this equation depending upon the bearing is ball or roller. So these two formulas are important. Write down these two formulas, this one, and this one. Write down these three formulas. They will be helpful for solving the numericals. So in there, I have already given you idea. If the speed is continuously varying, like applications, so the speed may be lesser, the speed may be higher. I have already given you example. At the initial stage, the speed is lesser, then the speed is increasing, attaining its peak level when higher gear we are operating our bike or any automobile car. And again, if there is any speed breaker or when we have to stop our car, then again the speed is lowering down and ultimately becomes zero. So for wheel applications, it is not rotating at constant hours. So for such cases, it is mentioned in million revolutions. So here the guidelines are given for automobile cars. The standardized cases life expected is 50 million revolutions for automobile cars. Then for trucks, 100 million revolutions. So for automobile, 50 million revolutions. For trucks, it is 100 million revolutions. For trolley cars, 500 million revolutions. And for railroad car, 1000 million revolutions. So here, these are the some guidelines given for wheel applications and the requirement of life in million revolutions. Selection of bearing life. For industrial applications, hello. So for this industrial applications, now they are operating at constant speed or hours. The machine used intermittently, such as lifting tackle, hand tools, and household applications, which are used very frequently, rarely, intermittently, 4,000 to 8,000 hours, the life is expected. Then the machines used for 8 hours of service per day as electric motors or gear drives. Then the 12,000 to 20,000, this particular life is expected. And the machines which are used for continuous operation, such as 24 hours per day, such as pumps, compressors, conveyors, the life expected is 40,000 to 60,000 hours. So this is the bearing life expected. We have discussed the bearing life in million revolutions for certain applications. Then for industrial applications, when the bearing is supposed to act at some constant RPM, then in such case we have discussed that up 4,000 means it is expressed in hours, and these are the guidelines. Intermittently used household applications 4,000 to 8,000 hours. Then for 8 hours shift per day, electric motors and gear drives, it is assumed 12,000 to 20,000 hours. And the machines which are used for continuous operations, pumps, compressors, conveyor, 40,000 hours. And let us discuss what is the load factor. So we have discussed the formula P is equal to XFR plus YFA. We will get answer by using this formula. X and Y are the radial and axial factors, and FR and FA is the radial and axial load acting on the bearing. So if we will get the P value for the bearing, then depending upon the application, it is required to be multiplied by load factor. Then you will get the correct answer. For example, I will say your P value, for understanding purpose, you say here, your P value is, after calculation of XFR and YFA, your P value is, let us assume a simple example, 1000 Newton for understanding purpose. So for gear drives which are free from impact like electric motor, turbo compressors, very smooth running operation is going on, then the load factor is 1.2. So I will multiply it by 1.2 and I will consider here the load acting on the bearing as 1200 Newton. Then the reciprocating machine like internal combustion engine and compressor, there are certain shocks and the bearing is should be require some more capacity. So I will multiply 1000 by here, I will say 1.7, and I can say here it is 1700 Newton. Your this P value will change. Ultimately, we are having C is equal to P into L 10 raised to 1 by P. So your dynamic load carrying capacity will change, and ultimately your bearing dimensions will change. So this is very important. Then impact machine like hammer mills. You can say the hammer mills. For example, I will give you forging machines. So continuously the continuous hammering is going on, and in such cases the 1000 is multiplied by 3.5 and 3500 Newton. See, the bearing for first case, this 1000 Newton is common for all, but depending upon the application type of drive, we will consider 1200 for first case, 1700 Newton for second, and 3500 for third. So accordingly, your ID, if your ID will be same, but the series will different, and the we can say the thickness and the diameter, outer diameter of bearing will change, and more higher series bearing can be used. So this is the different, and this is the significance of this particular load factor. Same for belt drive. For V belt, it is a 2, single ply leather belt 3, and double ply leather belt 4. So if there is application of single ply leather belt, the 1000 will be multiplied by 3, and for chain drive it is 1.5. So the load factor, it will be multiplied, means our dynamic load, whatever equivalent bearing load or equivalent dynamic load we have calculated, we will multiply it by the load factor, and then further we will consider in our application. So this is the significance of load factor, and it will so that the bearing can withstand the required desired application. Therefore, the load factor is considered. So today we have